Motor manual harvesting of short logs means felling, delimbing and bucking to standard industrial logs or differentiated assortments by chainsaws, which is directly done in the stand. The main advantages of this method are that it leaves the nutrients in the stand, low investment and relocation costs. It has, however, limitations such as higher work hazards and poorer ergonomic conditions. It is particularly dangerous in steep terrain, comes at higher costs for tree processing and will generate higher costs for pre-skidding and extraction. It is mainly used to lower the mass of the logs so as to enable manual or animal pre-skidding or when the local forest management comes with restrictions or with specific requirements for the extraction method to be used. Time consumption, productivity and costs depend on several factors, among which the most important are the tree size, pruning condition, and the degree of cross-cutting. This method may be used on individual trees or tree groups. A work cycle contains the work elements of the tree felling, delimbing, and cross-cutting. These run continuously on the trees harvested individually and in a repetitive sequence when the trees are harvested in groups. In the latter case, the number of repetitions of the three sequences of work elements usually equals the number of trees harvested in a given group. The example we are going to see here contains only a part of the work elements. More detailed descriptions on work elements for motor manual felling and delimbing are given in other tutorials. The work elements shown in this example are making the felling cuts, retracting on the escape paths, moving along the felled tree, cutting off the branches, moving along the delimbed tree, cross-cutting. In this video example, we are going to see how the motor manual harvesting is done for individual trees. This example is simplified either by excluding some work elements of the felling, delimbing, and cross-cutting operations, or by explaining them in a simplified way. Felling, delimbing, and cross-cutting of trees are done in the stand. In motor manual harvesting of individual trees, the first work element is that in which the feller walks to the tree to be felled. Following that, the worker chooses the felling direction, prepares the workplace, if necessary, evaluates if there are buttresses on the tree and if these need to be removed, and removes them if necessary. Then the cuts are done to fell the tree. The way that these are done, their type and extent, as well as other technical characteristics depend on the tree species, essence, size of the tree and its general state, and on the work habits of the feller. In some cases, it is necessary to use wedges when doing the back cut. When the stability momentum of the tree is surpassed by the forces caused by wedging, it will start to fall on a relatively circular trajectory relative to a horizontal axis which passes through the middle of the hinge and which is parallel to the hinge's length. At this point, the feller will retract on the escape path. It is quite common to have some more work to do after the tree has fallen. A post-felling work element can be that of removing the buttresses from the felled tree in order to provide a close to circular section at the tree bottom, which has some benefits in terms of easing the pre-skidding by dragging or extraction by forwarding. This is because roundwood piles better and saves space. Another benefit of removing the buttresses at this stage is that of easing further wood processing operations such as sawmilling. Following tree felling, the tree keeps its limb and is located on the ground. After tree felling, motor manual tree harvesting of individual trees requires delimbing operations. In general, delimbing is made of a series of workers' movements along the tree which are intercalated with cuts that aim to remove the branches. The way that this is done is different between broadleaved and coniferous species. Irrespective of the species and the techniques used, motor manual delimbing is considered to be intensive in terms of labor and fuel use. In addition, it requires a considerable effort from the workers and exposes them to noise, vibration, and other harmful factors. In broadleaves, removing the branches by cutting is done so as to recover wood assortments when necessary. Typically, this is done for the thick ramifications of the crown. For coniferous species, one can use different schematic procedures to remove the branches, which are differentiated by the thickness of the branches and the way that they are grouped on the tree. The output of motor manual tree delimbing are the delimbed stems placed on the ground. These are the trees after removing their branches and tops. The last operation of motor manual harvesting of individual trees is cross-cutting. The extent at which it is done in the stand depends on the harvesting method used. Usually, cross-cutting requires work elements consisting of measuring and marking the locations of the crosscuts, as well as other work elements to ensure the operational safety. Typically, cross-cutting consists of a series of movements along the stems which are intercalated with crosscuts done at the marked places. These aim at separating the stem into shorter pieces. Irrespective of the species, the way in which the cuts are done depends on the thickness of the stem at the cut's location and the tension state in the wood. Following the cross-cutting, other work elements may be relevant, such as placing clamps to prevent wood splitting and tagging the resulting wood pieces.